the agenda. Is there a motion on the agenda with perhaps an amendment?
I would move to adopt the agenda as amended. 4.2 as 4.2 and 4.3.
Great, thank you, Councilor Travers. Is there a second on the amendment on the agenda? Seconded by Councilor Barlow. Any discussion on the item before we vote? Seeing none, all in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously. On to our next item, which is public forum. It is our practice to first go to members of the public here in the room, to anyone who would like to address the Board of Finance, and then we'll go online. Is there anyone here to address the Board of Finance person? Seeing none, we'll go online. Is there anyone online who would like to address the Board of Finance? Yes, there is former Councilor Sharon Busher, right on time. Good evening, Sharon. Welcome.
Good evening. I just wanted to thank Catherine and HR for getting the org chart for the library. I can't remember what they're called here. They're the special, not the outreach, the library patron specialists. I just didn't understand how they fit in. So thank you so much for that. I appreciate it.
Thanks, Sharon. Anyone else online who would like to address the Board of Finance? Seeing none. Okay, we're going to move on to our next item, which is the consent agenda. Is there a motion on the consent agenda?
Move to adopt the consent agenda and take the actions indicated.
Moved by Councilor Travers. Is there a second? Councilor Carpenter, thank you. Any further discussion on the consent agenda before we vote? Seeing none, all in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you,
Yes.
Cammie, appreciate it. That's right, girl. Any opposed? Motion carried unanimously. All right, moving on to item, our first deliberative item, the new item 4.1, which is regarding an Old North End Graffiti-to-Mural Project proposal. That's the building at Elmwood in the Intervale intersection, and our city councilor from Ward 2, Jean Bergman, is here. So
would you like me to come up?
please come on up.
There we go. And I have with me the mother of this project. Come up, why don't you come up? As well as the essential staff that has made this happen, Will Lavelle and Joanna Schneider. I'm getting this wrong. I had it up here. And Will's baby. Let me be really brief. Helen contacted me about an incident that occurred with her son, who is 5, on the way to the Robin's Nest daycare at the Old North End Center, about the condition of the building. It's a landmark building. For those of us who were here, this is Michaud's Market, right? Meat market. So it's a really long time ago. And this is an anchor building. It's had graffiti for a very long time. The owners have tried to fix it several times. We have had Bill Ward out there to work on it. We have failed miserably in the normal course of events. Helen's will explain a little bit more. As a result, I asked business development to see if they can help, and Will and Joanna can talk more about the details that we've done so far, and including where we're at in the community organizing. This seems to be an amazing project, which it's involved a BIPOC, a Nepalese business owner, businesses there. Who I believe are all BIPOC people. I think all Nepalese. Will has a better connection with them than I do. Helen can talk about the community support that we continue to get. And I just want to say that on Inauguration Day, I'm walking down here and I run into Frank Coffey from the GBIC. And he stops me and he says, "We got to do something about graffiti." And I go, "Yes, I agree. Let us do a project you know, and let's try to do mural projects and make them big community projects. He says, great. And so one of the things which is really exciting about this project is that Frank has ponied up, and Frank has got got some other ideas for how we can involve schools in this work as well. And this is a great pilot project. It's a great renovation project. It's a great business support project. I think, yes, I will. Yes, I'll leave it at that, right? You know me, I can go on and just ask for some brief comments in terms of any of the details, and then open up the question to what I'm really looking for is support, and it's on the consent agenda tonight to ask for the authorization. I am committed, by the way, and so I want to make this public because it wasn't the last thing, obviously, I should say, is Ben talked to me about a process for these funds. We haven't had them before. I've used them, as you all know, last year for the fund. Sarah used them for the orphanage. I'm more than happy to work with other counselors to create a process with criteria so that the lay of the land is out there. It would not be right, in my estimation. It'd be fundamentally wrong to hold this project up while we did that. And Will and Helen can also talk about the timing and why it's not, why it would be terrible to do. And I'm going to now leave this space and let.
Thank you, Councilor Bergman. Thank you, and
Very
welcome, Helen.
Oh,
and
thanks.
or Will, if whoever would like to come up, and I'm sure there can be baby
Don't
support
bring the
if
baby.
needed.
No.
Putting my hand up.
Try it. Yeah.
But really appreciate everyone being here. I know, Cammy, we are gonna. Will, don't even sweat it.
Walk around in the back here.
Yeah,
There you
don't
go.
sweat it. It's totally fine. Babies are always welcome,
Nice job.
as our kids. Helen, welcome.
Yeah, thank you. So I'm Helen Reed. I live at 27 Spring Street in the Old North End. My son went to Rome. He's now a student at Sustainability Academy. He's a really observant 5-year-old. Walks past this building multiple times per day. And he said to me one day when we were on the way to school that he and his friends decided that this building was haunted. And I said, I'm sorry, I don't understand why would you think this building's haunted? Because 5-year-olds have odd ideas about things. And he said, because of all the graffiti. And it surprised me because when we go by it, I think to myself, this is a grown-up problem and one that we're gonna deal with as a city, and I'm committed to making things more beautiful in Burlington. And it just was a moment for me as a mom, where I have to think kids are absorbing their environment constantly, and he's seeing this and he doesn't know exactly how to explain it, but it seems scary or just off to him. And I, from that moment on, decided that I wanted to do something about it. And I read an article in 7 Days in the spring about a project in the South End happening at a private building. And I reached out to the organizer of that project, Jill Bottolato, and just said, how did you do this? And so she was giving me ideas for reaching out to some community organizers and trying to pull in Vermont Paint Company. And she suggested, the last suggestion was to get in touch with the city councilor, which I did. And honestly, I didn't expect that we would get the kind of response that we got. And the city has come to the table and been very clear from the beginning that they can convene and be a convener for this project, but they're not responsible for running it. And so that's where I've come in. I've brought Vermont Paint Company to the table. I'm bringing 25 volunteers to the table. This is very much a neighborhood-led initiative, and something that I really want to see happen for our kids and our families who use these streets every day.
Hi everyone, I'm Johanna Schneider. I work with Will as a small business support specialist for the Business Development Department. I can speak a little bit about our department's involvement. Jean forwarded an email to us, and since that building houses a lot of BIPOC businesses that we work with regularly, we did some outreach to check in with them, what they would like to see done, see how they felt about the graffiti, make sure that they would be okay with something like this. We reached out to the property owner as well to discuss it with him. So we really just helped coordinate and connect everyone. The businesses shared that they would love to see something that reflected their culture. Most of them, all but one, are Nepali owned. And so we just asked around among the community if they knew any Nepali muralists. and someone at ALB connected us with, or at least named a muralist who had done some work in Winooski. And so I shared that name, that artist, with the property owner. And he decided that he wanted to move forward with that artist. So that brings us to today and transferring us to.
Thank you to both of you. Are there any questions from the board? Also, Barlow?
Thank you for this, and I am supportive and to support moving this forward. One of the questions I raised, it sounds like Ben raised it as well, was around process, because this is actually the third mural project that I'm aware of that's come through seeking council initiative funds. The first one was the Odd Fellows out on North Avenue, and a second one sort of fell through midstream. And it just, I thought having that come through the Parks, Arts and Culture Committee with feedback from BCA around some of their like practices and concerns was really helpful for at least the Odd Fellows one, and it helped us vet a little bit the second one that didn't move forward. So I would be supportive with working with Councilor Bergman and anyone else who would on the council who would want to put a process in place. But like I said, I agree we shouldn't hold this up. And I'm supportive tonight. One of the questions I had was I didn't see a budget. I just saw an indication that this $5,500 is being spent just in support of generally of the entire project,
No.
or is it for a specific?
Yeah, basically, it was, and in there, it's tucked into the beginning, it's at 50% of it's approximately 50% of cash outlay for this, because the budget, includes all of this volunteer work, which
Right.
if you want to monetize that, it's like significantly more. But there's a coordinator,
There's paint and supplies.
paints and supplies,
supplies,
and
which is pretty
there are
significant.
2 muralists.
Yeah, but right now we've only secured one, just in the Napoli.
So, and we actually, because of the timing of this, Frank has moved his donation up, I think, in the timing of that. I think that, the idea of there being a 50%, 50-50, that was the deal. He would do a match. So, if we don't spend it all, I don't want to spend it if we don't have to. But it is for people and for the materials. And we've got a discount from Vermont Paint, so they have made, I think, a substantial.
Yeah. They recognize they have a shop, as you know, in the Old North End, and they were really excited about this project and coming to the table. So,
And I'll ask a dumb question too. The property owner, it's not the business that inhabits the building that wants this, it's the property owner as well. So the property owner is committed to keeping it should the business change.
Right.
That was one of the issues we had with the second mural I talked about that didn't move forward, was that there wasn't really a commitment on the part of the property owner to be part of the process. It was more of the business that inhabited that. So yeah, those are my questions. Thank you for coming and explaining that to us.
Yeah, he had tried twice to paint over and it just got graffitied up. And I think that the message that we've heard is that art doesn't get tagged. That's the experience with.
As much.
At my house, as much, obviously it does some, but it's a big deal.
And thank you. That's all
Thank
I
you, Councilor Barlow. And in the future, not related to this project, we certainly, as the administration, have our eye on graffiti. It has not been on the very, very top of the heap, but we really need to have a citywide strategy. And so more to come on that, but we don't have time tonight to get into the details of that. Any other questions on this item, the new 4.1 item from any of the councilors? Okay, if there are no other, that's right, Kim, you're going to call the question. So would someone like to make a motion on this item?
So
Move to take the actions on the agenda.
Yes.
Counselor Carpenter,
Yes.
to authorize the expenditure of $5,500 in council initiative funds to pay for cost of an owner community graffiti-to-mural project on 1 Intervale Avenue. Okay, that is your motion. Great. Is there a second? And by Counselor Travers. Any further discussion before we vote? Seeing none, all in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Carries unanimously. Thank you
Thank
all
you.
very much.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Thanks, Cammy. Appreciate it. First Board of Finance, check. Yeah. All right, up next, we have our new, a new item 4.2, which is the creation of 2 library patron special positions at our library budget free. We have our director, Mary Dinko here. Welcome, Mary.
Thank you. I hope you all got to see the memo. I think the easiest way to say this is it's about bringing security in-house. And this has actually been an idea that we've been working on since April of 2023, if you can believe it, but it's kind of ebbed and flowed from the encouragement of the mayor to think about new innovative solutions to how we can better deal with the challenges we're having downtown and especially at the library. It encouraged us to bring it up again. And there's many reasons to have this, bring these positions inside. And we've talked to other libraries that have in-house security. And they were very encouraging and gave us a lot of thoughts. But a few things that come to mind is, one, when it is a member of the city team, we can help with the training and the cultural competency. When it's an outside vendor, we really don't have as much control over that. So being really involved in the training, make sure that this person that is managing behavior at the library is reflecting the city's values is really important. And then there's just kind of the nuts and bolts stuff, like a key to get into all the different places. That's really hard to do when you have a contracted vendor. When it's a city staffer, that makes it a lot easier. And the other thing is getting on the city network. A lot of communications go back and forth when we have security issues at the library. Every time we issue a trespass, we can't have security do it now. We have to have staff do it. It sends out an email to everyone. And we also do something called a not per trespass issue that we're having at the library. So just having that communication be easier, being in the email network is huge as well. So this is new. It's new for the city to think about it. We're really grateful for all the support from the mayor's office and the HR department and the city attorney's office. This is a lot of lift when we do something new like this. And there's going to be some bumps along the way. We're not going to get it perfect. So I'm really grateful for when people take on these new ideas and say, we're going to try it and we're going to work through it with you. And that goes for our staff too. They had questions like, what is this going to mean? And is it going to be as dependable? Again, based on our research, we really think this is the way to go and to really give it a good try. And we think it's going to really make them a stronger member of the library team to help us work on all these security issues that we have. I guess I'll leave some time for questions.
Thank you, Mary. Are there questions from the board for Mary? Council Carpenter?
I know you put a ton of thought and you've been working on it for a year. These are being proposed as permanent positions, so I'm just sort of questioning 2 years from now, maybe we'll be in a better spot. And how would that work?
Well, I think that's a great question, because that would be wonderful to be in a better spot and not need that. And I think we would definitely have to think about that. I will say, anytime we have an open position, we have to talk to the mayor and the CAO and put in a request to fill and make our reasoning for it. And we've certainly been tasked by the mayor now, especially to really think about, do we need this? And if we don't, what does that mean? So yeah, I'm always open to those ideas. I mean, along with my fellow department heads, we're trying to right size our departments for the city. So yes, definitely open to that.
Another comment, not so much to Mary, but more to Catherine. Earlier, when we were budgeting in June and the mayor proposed her proposals for public safety, I think I asked then, and I guess I'm asking now, I would love to see us put together a budget, not part of the real budget, but a budget of these kind of initiatives, where we're at today, what we expect to see. And I think it's really important for us to kind of understand city is supportive We have no choice in these kind of positions. But we need to understand what it's costing us, both internally, we need it, I think, for, folks like the legislature. So I guess I'm asking if we could, in the next whatever number of weeks or months, put together what I'm gonna call a public safety budget, not police and fire, but all these
Yep.
surrounding
Additional.
things.
Yep.
That, so we can keep track of it. And some of them I know are paid by state dollars.
Yep.
That would be interesting to know.
Yep.
Some of them are general fund dollars, and that's very
Yep.
interesting for us to know.
I appreciate that, Councilor Carpenter, and I want to send it back an envelope because we had a lot of paper going on in the budgeting process. I
Yeah.
asked that exact question just to get a handle on how much across departments we're spending. And it was upwards to almost $500,000, as my memory serves, and it's sizable, and it's been growing. And it's been growing in bits and pieces without looking at that cross city view. And so absolutely, we can get a finer view on that. I think the other thing it begs, because there's different quality contractors out there for the quality of work that I've seen, not only for the city, but for some of our partners like Decker Towers through Burlington Housing Authority. I want to make sure that we're getting the best and for our investments, and also in the long view, also making sure that we're bringing anything we can in-house as a longer term strategy. This is really meeting an acute need that we have in our library with the limitations of existing contractors who offer security services who are high quality, I would argue, in the city. So that is certainly where I want us to head, is both stewarding our funds in the most responsible way, exploring how to bring things in-house, because I don't think we're going to be out of the woods quickly in this work. And on the other side of it, to your point about the state, it's important that the state, when we do our advocacy, really we can emphasize how much of a cost and an additional burden it is on the city of Burlington to be disproportionately holding so much of the impact of many system failures that are happening. And I'll leave it there for now, but yes.
Great, thank you.
Thank you. Did you want to add anything? Great. Okay, Council Barlow.
Yes, and we traded email earlier today about one of Councilor Carpenter's questions, but there is I'm still wondering. It doesn't square with the numbers don't square with the budget presentation. The budget presentation said we were paying $143,260 for security. So this proposal is about $53,000 more. And like I said, I'm supportive of it. We obviously need it. We have an acute issue that needs addressing. And I also applaud this idea of bringing it in-house, so that for all the reasons that you explained. I do share this concern that this will be an ongoing cost that we don't have funding for, because I think there is, even if we had that, 186,000 or whatever the number was in the budget for this, it's still short like $11,000.
Right.
And so that's one-time money as well, and not a lot of money, but we have a lot of those little pockets of money all over the city now. And I'm just hoping that we go into this with a mindset to say that we will examine this. Hopefully we will make progress. We will solve some of these crises that we have, and we won't have a need for all of this additional support. And this is a tenth of the library budget now for these two security positions and the outreach position that we're talking about this evening. So those are my my thoughts about it. I liked Councilor Carpenter's idea about trying to put a number to this, but it's not just city expense. We know that there was a law firm on George Street that was impacted by the sighting of the pods. They spent $50,000 in security upgrades and landscaping to make their property that's directly adjacent to the pods more workable, and to address some of the security and safety concerns they had. And on Friday, I met with Bruce Baker, who's developing the YMCA, and about an idea he has to harden the network of alleys that is behind and between College Street and the city market property, because there's a lot of undesirable activity that's happening in there on a regular basis, and it's an extension of the problem that we're having at the library. So those are real costs that business, and he's also putting security cameras in. I think he said $50,000 for those. So there's all these other expenses that the community is experiencing, not just the city public expenses. So in as much as we can capture some of that, I think it would be really helpful to understand the full impact financially on the city as well. but thank you for bringing this to us tonight.
Any other comments or questions? Someone like to make a motion or a
Well,
comment or?
if I just have a quick question. Because I'm also mindful of the time. I was just curious, what is our, do we have any extended contractual commitment to the folks that are currently providing security services? And are they, like, what's the extent to which they are aware of what's being planned here, and what is, can you explain a little bit as to what the sort
Sure.
of wrap-up plan is if this is to move forward?
If you remember, you recently just accepted a 6-month contract, so we're on a 6-month contract, and both parties have a 60-day escape clause. So, and they are aware of it.
Okay. Great. So the plan would be to bring these folks on board at the end of the current contract. if all
Yes,
goes
yeah,
according to
and
plan.
maybe just have a 1 week of overlap or something. like
Okay.
that.
Any other questions or comments before we vote? Seeing none, would anyone like to make a motion? Counselor Barlow looks like he is ready. Oh, oh. Counselor Barlow.
I move to approve and recommend to the city council the execution of the contract and any related documents.
No. Sorry,
Am I on the wrong?
if we move 4.1 to 4.1. You gotta read 4.1.
So our first,
Okay.
Yep.
All right, of course. I move to recommend that the city approve the creation of a library patron specialist lead, a regular full-time 40-hour non-exempt AFSCME grade 15 position in the budget-free library, and the creation of a library patron specialist, a regular part-time 28-hour non-exempt AFSCME grade 14 position in the budget-free library.
thank you, Counselor Barlow. Is there a second? Second, Counselor Carpenter. Any further discussion before we vote? Seeing none, all in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Carries unanimously. On to the next item, Mary.
So it's a good segue into this next item, which is another, I would say, innovative idea that we're trying to pilot this. And this is an idea of bringing in, at one time we called it a social worker, but we've been working with the Howard Center, and we're calling it a library outreach specialist. So this would be a position that would help folks who need some assistance in getting other services, hopefully building relationships with people so that maybe we don't need to get to the place of getting to, to have security intervention. And just, in general, trying something that, as a matter of fact, many libraries have already been doing. San Francisco has had a social worker on their staff for over 10 years now, and we've talked to other libraries that have had them. And so we'd like to try this. The mayor had set aside some money for the library, and we can use that for the position. And we have a donor through the Friends of the Fletcher Free Library who's giving us $25,000 for the position. Again, this is new. We're not quite sure how it's all going to work out. We're working with the Howard Center, and just like I would say, you think about how they embed folks into the schools. It's the same type of model. They'll be supervising this person. They'll have peer support. This will just be a contract where they're in the library, and we're hopeful. And it's not just about the behaviors that we're seeing at the library. We're hoping that this is a community resource. So we see somebody coming up to this person and saying, geez, I have an aging parent and they're displaying these signs. Can I talk to you about it? Or, geez, my cousin is in a relationship and it doesn't seem really great. Can I talk to you about it? So we imagine there's going to be a breadth of issues that this person can be supportive about, but also, in fact, to really help us with some of the other behaviors that we're seeing that have been on the librarians. And, we go to school to study information science, not social science. And we think that this position could be a huge help. I think I covered a lot of it.
Thank you, Mary. Yeah. So questions or discussion on this item, which is now 4.3 related to the outreach specialist position. Counselor Travers.
I think, again, I'm mindful of the time that we're up against 6 o'clock right now as the bell tolls. But as you know, Mary, we have this on our deliberative agenda before the full council, and so I anticipate there will be some further discussion around it. I think, my sense is that everyone is supportive of both this proposal as well as the other proposal that we just passed, which is on the consent agenda. But I believe the reason why some councilors wanted this on the deliberative agenda was to perhaps have a sort of broader condition around types of behaviors that you're seeing at the library right now. Your memo for the security specialist mentioned the special ordinances and trespass aspects of that, which have been effective. I think some folks may have questions about the extent to which it has been effective and how you see these positions furthering that. And of course, as you know, because I'm sure you've heard it as well, in addition to concerns around some of the behaviors that you're seeing there and the need to sort of put some additional supports in place there. Of course, we've heard complaints from other patrons of the library who have been concerned about coming there, particularly families with young children, of their own personal safety concerns. And I think some of the questions will be around how not only these positions will assist those folks with certain behaviors and needs that will be addressed by this specific position, but also how this position will help to address some of the other concerns that may not necessarily need the direct support of a social worker like this, but are hoping that a position like this will create a better environment at the library for them and for their families. So I don't necessarily need an answer to that now, but I anticipate that some of the questions when we get to the full council will be around those issues. But I am very supportive of this.
Thank you. Yeah, and I will say, I do have longer notes for when I get up to the full city council, because I anticipated some of that as well. So hopefully I will be preemptive in answering some of those questions.
Great.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
Anything else for this item? If there is nothing else, is there a motion? Counselor Travers?
I would move to approve and recommend that the city council approve the execution of a contract and any related documents needed to carry out said contract with Howard Center, Inc. for a 12-month contract of library outreach specialist services for the Fletcher Free Library for $103,210.08, for which the city will be responsible for $78,210.08, and $25,000 being supplied by the Friends of the Fletcher Free Library, and to execute the contract and any related documents needed to carry out said contract on final review and approval of the city attorney's office, and to authorize Mary Danko, director of the Fletcher Free Library, to effect all necessary budget amendments and transfers of funds to and from the above referenced funding sources as needed to support the proposed Fletcher Free Library's project budget for FY25.
Got there, thank you.
Yes.
Counselor Travers. Is there a second? Counselor Carpenter, thank you. Any further discussion before we vote? Seeing none, all in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously. And seeing no other items, thank you very much, Mary. I'm going to adjourn the Board of Finance at 6:04 p.m. Thank you very much.
Thank you.